There's more than just an NCAA title on the line as Cael Sanderson goes after his 12th at Penn State. Could this be the best team ever in NCAA wrestling history? Does Carter Starachi do something unprecedented and win a fifth individual NCAA title? Or will the pressure be too much?
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to Penn State Wrestling, and thank you so much for joining this live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. Locked On Nittany Lions is the #1 Penn State sports podcast out there, and I am your host, Zach Seyko. Grateful to be here once again to give a final preview of Penn State Wrestling at the NCAA Championships. So just kind of going through everything once again. But this conversation, I want you to be a part of it just as much as I am. Let me know your thoughts, questions, predictions over in the live chat to preview this one final time as we are on the eve of the NCAA tournament. So plenty of coverage and analysis to be expected throughout as well. We're going to do a lot of these live reactions after each session to recap it all and preview what it lies ahead over the course of Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And if you're not already, become an everydayer, subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts to stay up to date and be prepared for those recaps and previews. All right, let's get back into it with so much. We've had so many previews and analysis around the NCAA tournament. And once again, I do think that this is the best team in wrestling history, collegiate wrestling history. Penn State has been poised for this all along. And this isn't something that just popped up over the course of the Big Ten tournament or late in the season. You can go back on this show specifically where I've mentioned it. Jeff Byers has mentioned it, the voice of Penn State wrestling, when we've had these conversations that, okay, Penn State just set the NCAA mark a year ago with 172.5 points. They won the team race by 100 points. Second place, Cornell, wasn't even close. And that was just last year. And this program can do it all over again. Yes, they can. It is because of the likes of Luke Lillidahl at 125. And then you have just wrestlers that are NCAA title contenders up and down the lineup. Braden Davis should not be considered an afterthought here. I think with this underdog mentality, Braden Davis might actually surprise a little bit for the average, right? The average consensus that he has as far as how he will do and how successful he will be. But this team is poised to shatter what they did a season ago. Now, when you compare and contrast to last year, 2024, the 23-24 team for the 2024 NCAA tournament, it's still at everyone's discretion whether that's the best team in NCAA history. Yes, they broke records, but now we're talking about, is this the best team ever? This team certainly can do that because last year's team didn't exactly do that. They didn't get 10 out of 10 All-Americans. Braden Davis at 125, Aaron Nagao at 133, did not ultimately make the podium. They had 6 finalists, 4 individual champions. Ironically enough, Penn State teams before that have had 5 individual champions. So there are other accolades, there are other records to be set for them to really separate themselves from other teams in history. 2001, Minnesota had 10 out of 10 All-Americans. Every single wrestler in the lineup made the podium. Then you got to try to find a way to get 6 individual champions. Can you get 7 individual finalists? I don't know about the 6 individual champions, but you get 7 finalists. You break that scoring record. You increase the margin of victory in the team standings. You get 10 out of 10 All-Americans. It is going to be very tough to say that this 2025 Penn State team isn't the best in history. But that's what they would have to do, and those are my expectations. That's where the bar is. It's not about, oh, where does Iowa finish, or that's not even the conversation here. It's how do they compare to teams of the past, the classic Oklahoma State teams, Dan Gable's Iowa teams, those Minnesota teams throughout history. This is what is on the line for Penn State. They're not going to tell, and I know they don't think about it. They don't rattle off through, okay, this is our objective plan. How can we have as many? How can we get 10 out of 10 All-Americans? They just show up and compete. It's really what they do. They show up and they practice and they compete. There's also another part of this to the historical aspect. It's you would be able to accomplish all of those things as a team, and then you have the individual aspect of it. Can Carter Starace win a 5th NCAA title? I don't see anything stopping him from getting to that 184-pound final. I don't see anything in his way. Dustin Plott is going to be the toughest competitor along the way, but Carter Starace is better than him. Parker Kikaisen is the one where it is a toss-up. That was a sudden victory. This one very well. This part 2 very well may go to tiebreaker. And Kikaisen, there's not a huge gap between Starace and Kikaisen. I will give them that. I will say that they are better at certain things in certain categories when it comes to their overall the athlete profile, right? Their athletic profile. But it's not like Carter Starace's head and shoulders better than Kikaisen. And Kikaisen's probably going to be extra motivated here because too many times he has been slighted by Penn State competition. So whether that was Aaron Brooks back in the day, not too long ago, then Aaron Brooks vacates 184 by moving up to 197. And that's the reason Kikaisen, I'm sure Kikaisen's not complaining. But if Brooks is at that 184-pound weight class a season ago and not Bernie Truax, Kikaisen doesn't even get that individual championship. So that's something of interest to point out here. My finalists, the champions that I predict, again, let me know yours in the comments section. We're going to be checking in on the live chat in just a moment here as we wrap up this first segment. I think Luke Lillidahl starts his path. I'm not guaranteeing it because I don't want to do that. The chances of me being wrong are pretty high, but he is on his way, if he wins his first title, to being a 4-time champion. Luke Lillidahl has that potential. He's a former world champion. He's the former top overall recruit in that class of 2024. Lillidahl can do it as a true freshman. Not too long ago, he was considered somebody that maybe doesn't even make the podium. Maybe he's a fringe All-America contender. But Lillidahl was only going to get better. Lillidahl was only going to perfect his craft and get closer to that. So I have Lillidahl winning a championship at 125. I have Braden Davis making the podium. I don't know if he'll be a championship contender. That just might not be this season. There's Lucas Bird. There's Drake Ayala. He has to go through Lucas Bird. But don't be surprised if Braden Davis, with being as close to 100% as he's been all season, goes on a run through consolations and finishes in a solid spot on the podium. I'm expecting 5th place. I think that's fair for Davis. Bo Bartlett, to defeat Jesse Mendez 3 times, as much confidence as I want to have and optimism there. The caliber of wrestler that Jesse Mendez is, you don't defeat him 3 times in a row. I hope Bartlett makes me eat my words. I think Bartlett finishes in 3rd because he'll be knocked out by Jesse Mendez. And then I think it's Mendez who wins at 141, but Andrew Alirez is the other one. So you could convince me otherwise if it's Alirez or if it's Mendez, which was the expectation all along. I have no idea how Andrew Alirez ended up being an 8 seed. 149, I think Shane Van Ness can get revenge against Ridge Lovett, but he'll lose to Caleb Henson. 157, probably some of the most confidence I have out of all of the wrestlers, Tyler Kasak. I think he wins an NCAA title here. Same thing with Mitchell Messenbrink. I group those two together as far as where they are in their respective weight classes. Kasak is that much further ahead than the rest of the competition. So is Mitchell Messenbrink. They're both in NCAA champions. 174, Levi Haynes can absolutely get revenge against Keegan O'Toole. Is my confidence as high as it is for Messenbrink and for Kasak? Not necessarily, because it is Keegan O'Toole and he does have to go through Dean Hamity. But I think Haynes gets it done. I think Haynes makes those adjustments and gets the title. 184. It's going to probably take tiebreaker. It might even be sudden victory, tiebreaker, sudden victory. I don't know. I think we're going to get fireworks at 184, and that's going to be our final. That's going to be our final bout. But give me Starace over Kikaisen in a very, very close one. 197. Josh Barr's leg does concern me for what it is worth. It's just because we don't know the extent of the injury and the timeline. Braden Davis has had time to recover. Carter Starace was injured at the end of the regular season and had time to recover. He skipped Big Tens. Barr was hurt in that consolation semifinal and has had, give or take, 10 days. So the best case scenario is that it wasn't that serious. Going up against the likes of Jacob Cardenas, or if you happen to make it to the championship, right? I think even Stephen Little or Michael Beard, you meet one of them in that quarterfinal and you're missing that, you're 90%, you're 85%. You're going to need every percentage point that you can get. So I think Josh Barr definitely places. He's still a top 5 wrestler in my mind. I think it's safe to say that he'll still be an All-American. But to say, even if he gets past the likes of a Stephen Little, which is what I'm expecting in that quarterfinal, he doesn't make it past Jacob Cardenas, not if he's not 100%. And then at heavyweight, Gable Steveson, one-of-a-kind wrestler, really. One-of-a-kind athlete, period. I don't know that I can, as much as I would like to. I would like to say that Greg Kirkfleet wins. I think it gets closer, though. I think Greg Kirkfleet is going to try different things or just try to find a way to win, and by any means necessary. So I think it will be a closer margin, but Gable Steveson still gets it done. We're going to check in on the live chat and go more through any questions, comments, predictions that you have. We'll talk about it through in this NCAA tournament preview with Penn State wrestling set to make history. Coming up next here on Locked On Nittany Lions. And today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track of it, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money, it's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. I found the surprising insights from Monarch Money. So I actually use Monarch, and I realized just how much money was going towards things like ordering packages or eating out, anything like that. And now I budget smarter and I get to save more when I find those spending habits. It's the all-in-one convenience of it. So instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan for long-term goals. And you'll have easy collaboration. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track your shared accounts, personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's right, 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for half off your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Imagine watching your favorite team play live, feeling the energy of the crowd, and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets to those events should not be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. Game Time Picks. This is an incredible feature from Game Time. It curates the best ticket deals, and it makes it easier to find better value for tickets to more than just sports. Concerts, comedy, theater events. You'll have easy ticket shopping. You'll go and check the Game Time app, and there are always amazing deals and on some huge matchups coming up with the college basketball tournament, right? You'll have super deals, the lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, which means you'll get peace of mind. With seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guaranteed, you can book with total confidence through Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that is code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you to each and every one of you for checking out this live show. I see we have some comments in the chat. Thank you so much. What is the formula for a better team? They could have more champs, but not as many total points. They could have more total points, but not as big of a lead over the others. I think it's a domino effect to an extent. I understand your question, your comment, and what leads you to believe that, hey, because look at that. Penn State had 5 NCAA champions the one season, and then ultimately did not, set any records or anything like that, but they matched the 5 individual champions. So and by my expectation, having 7 finalists will certainly help. Even if they go 4-3, I think even if they go 3-4, hypothetically, and I don't want to speak that into existence, but to kind of think of the different results, if they have 3 individual champions and they have 7 finalists total, so they would have 4 finish in second place, that's where bonus points kind of come into play. So having Luke Lillidahl at 125 and everybody else that's an NCAA title contender for what it's worth outside of Braden Davis. And Braden Davis is an All-America contender. So everybody getting on the podium, top 8. You have wrestlers that can just score at will. The 3-point takedown change was so beneficial for the likes of Penn State because they just score. They are just so offensively sound that all of a sudden, a couple takedowns and it's a major decision, just like that. It turns into a tech fall. These rule changes were made for Luke Lillidahl, not intentionally, but you know what I mean? Luke Lillidahl benefits from it. Carter Starachi, Levi Haynes, just about everybody. And Braden Davis has shown that he can even rattle off some points if necessary. But we know that Mitchell Messenbrink and Luke Lillidahl specifically, but you could easily include Greg Kirkfleet, Levi Haynes, Carter Starachi, Josh Barr. Whether or not he's 100%, he can rack up points, and a decision can turn into a major decision or a tech fall, just like that. So bonus points are going to be huge. Penn State would need to get either match the same amount of finalists or exceed the number of champions. They would have to go 5-1 instead of 4-2, or if they go 4-3 and they get those bonus points, because then they'll have another second place finisher. They'll have more All-American. They went 8 out of 10 in terms of All-Americans last year, and they went 4-2 in the titles. So you simply shift one of those. You have 9 All-Americans and you go 4-2 in the finals again. That gets you the records again. But it's still feel like it's up for debate. Oh, well, they went 4-2 and had 6 finalists, which is insane. It's insane for me to kind of process that through, that still getting 6 finalists and having debatable. Well, they had 9 All-Americans, so are they still the greatest team? But I think that's where they put that to rest. I think this team is capable of just putting all of the doubt, letting the conversation be who's the second place team. So getting the scoring title, margin of victory, how many individual champions. That's tough to get 6. I think getting 5 and having it's about getting the finalists, because imagine if Penn State gets 7 or 8 finalists. It's very much possible. Just because I think Bo Bartlett can't beat Jesse Mendez a 3rd time in a row does not mean that he won't. It doesn't mean that by any means. I just think that's difficult. Jesse Mendez isn't your casual, oh, well, he's up there, he's a solid wrestler. No, this guy is going to have a pretty solid career when all's said and done. So I think that's where, so Josh Barr might be 99.9%. And that was just a fluke injury in the Big Ten tournament. We won't know. He could end up upsetting Jacob Cardenas and finding his way into the final against Stephen Buchanan, or maybe it's AJ Ferrari, right? And then Penn State has 9 true NCAA title contenders. And if Braden Davis is on fire, who knows, right? Jeff Byers said he said Braden Davis, really, if he catches lightning in a bottle, don't doubt him. So that's where this Penn State team is that there isn't necessarily a liability in the lineup where any of them could win a championship. Yes, even Braden Davis. With the incoming Joe Seeley, Marcus Blaze, the Mirasola twins, Zach Ryder, PJ Duke, William Henkel, Asher Cunningham, and return 70% of the lineup next year, it reloads again. So we're already pivoting the conversation of, oh, could they do it again next season? To answer that briefly, because we still got an NCAA tournament coming up in less than, 24 hours? Less than 12 hours, since it's after 10 p.m. Eastern time here. I would say where the lineup is, you get Marcus Blaze in most likely at 141. So you have Luke Lillidahl at 125, Braden Davis again at 133, Marcus Blaze at 141, Shane Van Ness at 149, Tyler Kasak at 157, Messenbrink at 65, Haynes at 74 for his final season, 84 most likely Zach Ryder. That's going to be a fun offseason conversation. Does Ryder take over at 84? Does Josh Barr cut back down to 84? And does Connor Mirasola take over at 97 and then Cole Mirasola slides in at heavyweight? Or does Penn State go to the transfer portal? Is Cole ready to take over and be a full-time starter? Or is there somebody that pops up in the transfer portal that they need for a 1-year solution? It's a possibility. I'm just saying that. But that's what the lineup would look like next year. And it would be tough for me to argue that Cole Mirasola could be an NCAA title contender right out of the gate if he is a starter next season. But everyone, let's say it's Zach Ryder at 84 and Barr at 97, 125 through 197, all NCAA title contenders. Yes, Zach Ryder, 84. I know Angelo Ferrari and Max McAnally are there, but if we're talking about title contention, Zach Ryder should be in that conversation. Also, the Joe Seeley loss to Brandon Cannon looks a lot better now with the context. Yep, Brandon Cannon is very much, if he wasn't on the same side of the bracket as Tyler Kasak at 157, they very well could meet at the NCAA championship. But I think we're going to get a rematch of Kasak and Cannon in the quarterfinal. Cannon's the 11. I have the brackets pulled up. I don't know why I can't look. Let's see here. 157. Cannon is the 5 seed. Yes. So I fully expect Cannon to meet Kasak in the semifinal. Back to the comments section. Perry has a chance to step in and make an impact too. State champion in Pennsylvania, never finished worse than third. Also an M2 wrestler. Yes, Dalton Perry. He's been committed to Penn State for quite some time. When I was covering a little more Pennsylvania high school wrestling, got to see him wrestle quite a bit earlier on in his career as a freshman and sophomore at Central Mountain. Talent, lots of talent, right? There's Penn State is certainly not devoid of the talent reload. So where, yes, there's concern with Bo Bassett and Jax Forrest choosing other destinations. Remember, there's also the 2028 recruiting classes. The 2027 recruiting class is shaping up to be a very nice one in Pennsylvania. I can't guarantee or say, hey, Penn State's going to get this recruit or XYZ, but it's not just about one class. Penn State, notice how they had the top class in 2024 and 2025. Penn State recruits in cycles. They kind of group these classes together depending on eligibility. Penn State has this down to a science. Cale Sanderson knows what he's doing. And then we still got guys in the background like Alex Facundo and Aaron Nagao. Yes, Aaron Nagao could very well compete for a starting spot at 133. It depends on his health. We're still talking about next season. Does anybody have are there any dark horse contenders in these weight classes? But we'll steer the conversation wherever we need to go, right? When does NCAA start? Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern time. Unless I have that wrong. I shouldn't have that wrong. ESPN, it pays to have ESPN Plus. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to listen to. I'm actually really eager to listen to Shane Sparks and Trent Hidley. Trent Hidley's close to State College. He's from the Mifflin County area. I've interviewed him before, actually, with some of my past, because I was in radio before this, so I've actually interviewed Trent Hidley before. Really cool guy. Can PJ Duke start? Most likely. I think the plan for PJ Duke, this just logically makes sense to me. Jeff Byers will definitely have some more insight to that, but the way I logically project it out is that Duke will come in, Duke will redshirt. I think Duke will redshirt because do you bench Mitchell Messenbrink? Do you bench Levi Haynes? Probably not. You let PJ Duke come in, you let him season for a year, and then Levi Haynes, with 1 year of eligibility left in his first year with the program, PJ Duke's that is, then you let him take over 174 when Levi Haynes graduates. So it's a perfect transition from Levi Haynes and then PJ Duke. You pass the baton at 174 and then you have an anchor there. But that's an open competition. Asher Cunningham's there. Asher Cunningham's around that weight class. He could very well bump up to 184, who knows? Maybe he competes at 197. William Hankel as well. I don't want to just assume that, that's PJ Duke's, but I imagine that PJ Duke will redshirt since his weight class is around, his projected weight class is around 165, 174. I don't know that he can't cut to 157. That would be almost impossible. And then, I really like Nate Desmond, William Hankel for the next class. They're underrated. And then there's Sam Herring in the class of 2026. Yeah, so Penn State has a plan. Penn State absolutely knows what it's doing there. Here we go. Which number 1 seed has the toughest road to the title? All right, and we'll answer this, then we'll go back to break, and then we'll come back to the live chat. So if you have any questions about the NCAA tournament, highly encouraged. Number 1 seed. So I imagine that's anybody, not just Penn State wrestlers. The easiest one, or the first one that comes to mind is Brock Hardy. That's one. Brock Hardy has to go through either at a minimum Jacob Frost. I think Jacob Frost is really talented, Iowa State. But Andrew Alirez. Andrew Alirez is a title contender. He's not an 8 seed. he was one of the favorites. Most when it was originally at the beginning of the season, it was Bo Bartlett, Jesse Mendez, and Andrew Alirez, and now Andrew Alirez is just casually an 8 seed. I think Alirez is better than Hardy. So I would go Brock Hardy. Definitely has a tough path. You could make an argument maybe for Caleb Henson as well, but Caleb Henson is just that. I don't know that Brock Hardy should have been the 1 seed. I think Bo Bartlett should have been the 1 seed at 141. But Henson would have to go through potentially a Kyle Parco or a Panero Johnson, but not that kind of caliber that Andrew Alirez is. I think 174, Keegan O'Toole has an intriguing path as well. Lorenzo Norman of Stanford. I'm not trying to predict an upset, but that's an upset watch. I'd keep an eye on Lorenzo Norman of Stanford just to make things interesting with Keegan O'Toole. And then you'd have to go through Lenny Pinto as an 8 seed or Carson Hartzler of Ohio State as a 9 seed. I mean, that top half of the bracket is loaded. Garrett Thompson of Ohio is the 4 seed. So I think Keegan O'Toole is certainly in that conversation. Gable Steveson does not have a tough path. He is the tough path, right? Cardenas, I think Jacob Cardenas has a fair path. It really depends. Josh Barr, Trey Munoz, Stephen Little, Michael Beard, Luke Serber, Zach Bronigal. That's all at the top half of the bracket with Jacob Cardenas. But to make an argument, to answer the question directly, I think Brock Hardy or Keegan O'Toole really are going to be tested in their respective brackets. All right, we're going to take another break and come back to the live chat and answer some more questions and talk about the NCAA tournament in this next final segment here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Today's show is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling that you lost an hour of sleep, you feel that really is affecting you, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, more time outside, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through all of it. So whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with a busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need. So basketball madness is here. You're going to be staying up late to watch all of that tournament action, and 5 Hour Energy can help you keep up the next day. Extra daylight means extra activities with longer days. Now, I like to go outside. I like jogging. I like going outside to jog, but if you're into hiking, if you're into any other outdoor activities, you can get a quick boost from 5 Hour Energy. And it's the on-the-go convenience. So whether you're at a sporting event, whether you're traveling, 5 Hour Energy is easy just to grab and go, and it'll keep you feeling refreshed. Head over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango, tropical burst. You can even build your own 12 or 24 pack and have it delivered right to your door. Do you need one now? You can grab a 5 Hour Energy at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy. Again, that is 5 Hour Energy.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, one final segment here on Locked On Nittany Lions to wrap it all up. And again, we will have live reactions on this channel throughout the entire NCAA tournament for wrestling. I just had the bracket breakdown. I encourage you, if you want to make sure you get your final picks in for your basketball bracket, make sure you check out the bracket breakdown with Locked On. Great guys over there at Locked On College Basketball. So, but for this NCAA tournament here for wrestling, we know that Penn State is going to win another title. Just by how much? And I think that this will be very entertaining. We'll go through maybe some underrated wrestlers here throughout the bracket. 125 is really a cluster. I like Luke Lilidolf with the dust settling. It's really on the other side of the bracket though. When you look at Luke Lilidolf's path, he's better than Caleb Smith, and he continues to get better. I know those matches were close, but when you watch them, it's a last second takedown in that dual meet, and then Lillidahl's in control against Smith and just basically needs to reach the buzzer. He doesn't need to do anything. He's up on a takedown. He knows that Caleb Smith's not getting a shot attempt in. He knows he doesn't have to fend off a takedown. So take the stalling point and just go win the match. But he is going to have to go through Richie Figueroa, defending national champion of Arizona State, or that could be Vincent Robinson of NC State. I don't think it's no guarantee, but I am expecting Figueroa to meet Lillidahl in the semifinal. And if that's the case, Figueroa is more of a defensive wrestler. Lillidahl is going to be able, I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with his offensive pace. And that's why I like Lillidahl to not only make the championship, but win. Matt Ramos' side of the bracket. Don't expect that it's just going to be chalk at 125 and that it's going to be Ramos versus Lillidahl. Jet Strickenberger won a Big 12 title. Troy Spratley was close and was a close runner-up to Strickenberger. Cooper Flynn is solid as a 19 seed. Spencer Moore is somebody that everybody talks about who could bust the entire bracket. I'd argue Nicolas Rivera of Wisconsin is somebody like that, and they're all down there on that side of the bracket. Jacob Moran of Indiana could give Matt Ramos a fight in the second round if he ultimately advances, and I think he will. I think he's an underrated 18 seed. So that's what we're talking about here. I just rattled off 3-4 double-digit seeds that could ruin that side of the bracket for anybody. Matt Ramos, I don't think he's getting to the championship. I don't. I think it will be Jet Strickenberger. Could easily be Troy Spratley. I think one of those two will ultimately emerge. And if not, do not be surprised about Rivera or Moore. There is a lot of upset potential on that side of the bracket. Check the comments section again. If Carter loses, oh gosh, does his mom ruin a pair of glasses like Spencer Lee's? I gotta play that one out again in my mind. When Matt Ramos did pull off the upset of the century, it felt like at the time went with the reverse pin to ultimately, what a scramble that was. And Lee was a heavy favorite that year. That was the heat of the moment type of thing. I don't think Starachi's parents will. I think Starachi's so calm, cool, and collected. I imagine his parents are like that as well. So I know that's a joking question, but I get what you mean. I think Caleb Henson could have a tough time with Van Ness. He very well could. I think Henson wins. I really do. I mean, Henson's the defending champion at 149. But if we want to give some confidence to Van Ness, Jeff had said if you missed the two-part preview of the NCAA tournament where we went through weight class by weight class, he said that Van Ness looks the best that he's been all season. So that's saying, I don't know that there's any lingering issues with the season-ending injury from last year, but you do have to get situated almost. And I know Van Ness has looked great outside of two select matches. The loss to Cannon Webster, that was shocking at Big Tens. And then losing to Ridge Lovett pretty convincingly. That was pretty decisive on Ridge Lovett's part. But if Van Ness is probably the best that he's felt all season long, then that's saying something going into this part of the season. Hey, Zach, if you had to pick one highly ranked guy to not All-American, who would it be? Ooh, I like this question. I almost want to say Matt Ramos. I've seen some other people predict that. Ramos will still get on the podium, but I don't know that he will finish as highly as maybe people expect him to. Somebody else that's a top end seed. That's a good question. I actually haven't thought that through. There's a chance Brock Hardy potentially. We could also look at some other 2 and 3 seeds. 125 is an absolute mess waiting to happen. If Vincent Robinson, Eddie Van Treska, Matt Ramos all don't place on the podium, that seems the most likely outcome. That's going to seem shocking. But I look at Caleb Smith. He's a title contender at 9. He just has to go through Lillidahl, and he's going to lose to Lillidahl. Sheldon Seymour's the same way. You also have Richie Figueroa. You have Dean Peterson as a 12 seed. So there's only 8 spots for people to place as an All-American. 125 is definitely not going to look the way it should. 133 seems pretty status quo. 141 could be pretty disrupted as well. Just because you have taken Jameson as a 7 seed. And that matchup with Bo Bartlett, that's going to be a tough one. I watched that. Watch out for that 2 versus 7 matchup between Bartlett and Jameson. Jameson will keep it close. That's going to go to sudden victory in my mind. And I hope that Bartlett is able to prevail to get to Mendez. There is an outside chance that Tegan Jamison does pull it off. So don't sleep on Tegan Jamison as a 7 seed looking to make an upset. Vance Von Bauer is a 6 seed. There's really this 141 bracket is so the lower weights, the upper weights seem pretty status quo. Gable Steveson at heavyweight, right? Carter Starachi, Parker Kaizen at 84, Jacob Cardenas, or any of the top 4 really. Any of the top 4 at 197. Those classes are very top heavy. Same with 174, 165, 157. It's all of the lower weights that really don't have an answer and could look very jumbled at the end of the tournament. So that's a good question. I like that one. So Richie Figueroa worries you. He's been banged up, and I don't like to use that as an argument but you have to. He's not 100%. He hasn't been 100% all season. I also think it's just it's style, it's matchup. I don't think that Figueroa will be able to keep up with Lillidahl. I think Lillidahl will be too fast-paced offensively. Figueroa is a really good defensive wrestler. So all you got to do is, if you're Lillidahl, string a couple takedowns together, get 2-3 takedowns, easier said than done, but hey, look how he had 2 takedowns against Ramos in the first period. That's a major decision against everyone's choice to be an NCAA champion in the Big Ten semifinals. Who do you feel sways the Hodge voters this weekend? If Carter wins, it has to be him, doesn't it? And that's where we'll finish up here on this live show. The Hodge Trophy. So 184 is going to be the final bout unless something totally crazy happens where Parker Kakaisen doesn't get it, Carter Starachi, right? If I don't want to speak anything into existence. Let's assume it is Kakaisen versus Starachi for the 184 championship. That will be the last bout Saturday night. That will be the finale. That will be the headline matchup. When Starachi wins the 5th title, they're going to give him the Hodge Trophy because he won a 5th NCAA title. It's never been done before, and Starachi's never won a Hodge Trophy. So that's how the voters will reflect with the voters. Now, if Starachi doesn't win a 5th title and Parker Kakaisen happens to upset him in a sense, I don't think it's an upset by 2 versus 1, but they're very close. If Kakaisen does happen to beat him, they will give the Hodge Trophy to the person who prevented the unprecedented historical event of a 5th NCAA title. You could give it to Gable Steveson. You could give it to Mitchell Messenbrink. I think there's some other serious contenders involved. But I really think it's who wins at 184. Is it the guy who gets the 5th NCAA title, or is it the guy that prevents the 5th NCAA title? So thank you, everyone, for the conversation. Great questions, great discussion about the present and the future of Penn State wrestling. And we're going to have live reactions all throughout this NCAA tournament. So make sure, if you're not already, subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts to keep up with everything Penn State wrestling over the next 3 days. All of the reactions, all the recaps, all the previews and analysis along the way. Starting tomorrow morning, Penn State wrestling looking to make history once again and be alone at the top in a variety of regards, with being the best team, undisputed, and also having the first ever wrestler to have 5 NCAA championships at the Division I level. Thank you so much for your comments in the live chat. Please leave a like on this episode, share it with friends and family, and I will talk to you very soon here, once again, on Locked On Nittany Lions, as we're going to cover Penn State wrestling all the way through this NCAA tournament.